the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. But wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know the people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they can send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. Get off this fucking neck. Don't let me shoot you. Can't fucking breathe. Don't let me shoot you. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, happy 7/10. That being said, 7 years ago this week, a man we called Rye affectionately told me that I talk about fights too goddamn much. That I can't just let it go to waste. That I can't just spend it bullshitting everyone I talk to's ear off about fights. That this is something that other people get interested in when they hear us talk about fights, that he got interested in, that he thought the world would appreciate. And he convinced me to start a goddamn podcast. So I talked to a couple of the other fellows that I usually chat their ears off about fighting, and they thought it'd be a pretty good idea as well. So 7 years later, here we are for the anniversary episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. I am your host, The Meter. The Meter does many things if you are nasty. I've got a glorious panel here with me today to get into all the shit talking and the shenanigans, the fight announcements and the fuckery and everything else interesting that has trickled out the MMA pipeline since we talked to you wonderful folks last. If this is your first time here, pretty much every Thursday when there are fights to talk about that weekend, you will find us here on YouTube at youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe, giving you all the interesting things that you need to be aware of. If you can't catch it live or don't want to catch it live, I understand. I also own a mirror. For that reason, the week after we go live, we put the all audio version out at anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. You can pick it up there from your podcast consumption platform of choice. That being said, welcome to the shit show. Before we get too deep into all the fun and fuckery, first off, gentlemen, how the hell you doing over there?
Has it really been 7 fucking years since we started this thing?
July 11th, 2018 was the first time you and I sat down and recorded one of these things, and it went up on YouTube.
July. Actually, I bet that means the first episode we did, I was still in my old apartment. I hadn't even moved into the house because I bought this
Yeah.
house that I live
I
in
think
now
you
in
were,
2018.
because the first fight that we talked about was DC versus Stipe.
God,
The first one. That's how long ago we started this goddamn podcast. We were talking about Stipe versus DC1 on our very first episode,
fuck. It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
right?
Shit. Well, here's to another fucking 7.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, indeed. Congrats on you, brothers. It's badass that you fucking made it that long. That's insane. Just thinking about that fight specifically, that's putting it in perspective. I'm glad that I've been here for just a little fucking piece of that with you guys. It's crazy to think I've already been doing my little podcast for a few years with Vinny already, and a big part of that is because of you boys. So always
Glad to have you
appreciate
along.
the fact that you guys brought me into this shit. Hopefully I can continue to be a piece of it for more than just, a little bit of it.
Hell
You
yeah.
know, thinking about all of that, after you just said that, this makes me come to realize you may have needed parental consent to watch our inaugural thing because you're so goddamn young.
That's very true, because I'm pretty sure our first couple episodes were automatically age gated 18 and over. I don't know if you would have
No,
actually been able to watch them or not. It would have been close.
2018, I was still 21. So, I mean, I was just getting into that legal drinking age.
Right over the line.
Still wet behind the ears.
Good shit. Good shit. Well, I'm damn proud to have you boys along for the ride with me, and I'm damn proud to have anybody else who enjoys the shit talking and shenanigan that we get up to around here. So with that being said, we're going to kick things off the way that we like to. I do have to let you know we are running a couple of new things behind the scenes here. There might not be as much of the traditional glitz and glamour if you've been watching the show for a while as we normally have, but if everything works out smoothly tonight, we're going to have some pretty neat features going on for you guys for season 11. So that being said, let's get this shit show off and running. So we're going to start things off around here the way that we like to, with a little bit of news and recent events, fight announcements, fight cancellations, rumor confirmations, officially speaking, things of that nature, all the important things that came down the pipeline from the MMA world we think you guys need to know about for this week. So first thing I want to start off with here, we talked about it a little bit before the break here. Coming into 317, Chris Ewart literally took the fight on a week's notice against newcomer Jackson McVeigh. Originally agreed to 195-pound catch weight. He got off the plane in Vegas and they said, well, the catch weight's out the window. You have to cut those 10 pounds in 3 days. And Needless to say, he was not able to do that. And the UFC announced during the 317 broadcast that not only had Ewert versus Jackson been removed from the card because Ewert couldn't make weight, but that the UFC had actually cut Ewert from the roster before he ever had a chance to make his official debut. Now that the dust has had a little bit of time to settle, so to speak, we found out that that was not actually the case. He wasn't actually cut. What happened was that they had terminated his full UFC contract. When Chris Ewert got the call for the short notice fight, he was actually training for a fight that he was going to have later on, I believe the end of September, on the UFC Contender Series. What happened was when he couldn't make the weight on short notice because he wasn't supposed to, the fight was canceled. Jackson McVeigh we'll talk about more here in just a little bit, but it turns out that Chris Ewert was not cut from the UFC. His UFC contract itself was nullified so that he could keep his UFC Contender Series fight that was already in place, and he will still be getting officially his UFC Contender Series shot later on this fall. So it's nice to see that even though everything went out in a just horrific clusterfuck in the last minute, everything still seems to be settling out and he's still going to get his chance to prove himself here. So it's nice to see the UFC actually doing something proper for a change. That being said, probably the biggest story that has been happening literally since we saw you guys last has finally had a positive update to it here. Just in the last couple of days, we have gotten an update on Ben Askren. We talked initially when they diagnosed him with the severe pneumonia that he wasn't responding to, and then he went in and out of comas. Well, it turns out he has now successfully had a double lung transplant and was able to actually make a video speaking on his own. I posted that video on the I'm No Joe Discord. Links to that is in the description, whether you're watching or listening to this. Check that out if you want to see the video itself. But Ben Askren is still around. He is kicking. It looks like everything is starting to make a positive trend. He's recovering. He said himself he's 140 pounds right now. And if you watch that video, that is scary to see Ben Askren that fucking little. He was never a big dude, but he definitely looks scary small right now. But he's got 2 new fucking lungs. The body seems to be taking it. He was able to speak even with the fucking trach still in. So things are taking a positive fucking turn, and it's nice to get some good news in that fucking story. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, Jackson McVeigh got drafted from LFA up to the UFC, was originally going to make his debut on that 317 card against Chris Ewert. Chris Ewert obviously had his issues. That didn't happen. The fight fell through, but the UFC did announce that Jackson McVeigh will be stepping in next weekend, UFC 318 down in New Orleans on that July 19th card against Bruno Ferreira to make his debut instead. So kind of a double-edged sword, if you ask me. He probably would have had a little bit of an easier time taking on Chris Ewert because Ferreira is a fucking monster. So it's definitely going to be a tougher test, but it also could equally be that much more of a great first impression if he does the damn thing as well. So we'll get to see what McVeigh has coming up next weekend. That being said, I talked about this one a couple times. I have talked several of these guys' ears off since it was initially even hinted at, and it was made official this week. Marcus Buchecha has officially been signed by the UFC. Not only has he been signed, but he will be making his debut in 3 weeks in Abu Dhabi, July 26th, against Martin Buday. I genuinely feel bad for Buday at this point because Buchecha is a fucking monster, the likes of which most of these UFC gentlemen have never fucking seen, and he very well could come through and make a fucking sweep of this division if he takes this shit seriously. So Abu Dhabi is going to be a very interesting place for him to make his debut, but I very much look forward to seeing what he can do overseas there. A little bit closer back to home here, August 16th up in Chicago will be UFC 319, and we got a very interesting fight officially confirmed. We've been hearing rumors about this fight for probably 2 months now, but it is officially official straight from the UFC horse's mouth itself. Jeff Neal versus Carlos Pratas will go down in Chicago. That fight has been rumored to be swirling for a couple of months now, and it is now officially official. That one could be real fucking fun. One I know TJ is going to be excited about here. September 5th, one fight night number 35. We get the official MMA debut of the other half of the Brotherhood. Tai Rutolo will officially be making his MMA debut, and they are not giving him any easy pass either, because he will be making his debut against none other than Adrian Lee. That is going to be a fucking spectacular fight, and I cannot fucking wait for September to get here. Both of those gentlemen are fucking incredible, and I am here to see that fucking match go down. The following day after Mr. Rotolo is going to make his MMA debut, September 6th, the UFC will be returning to the City of Lights, Old Paris. That's right, and we got a pair of interesting fights added to that UFC Paris card this week. The first one we talked about a couple weeks ago, former PFL champion Ante Delija has officially been picked up by the UFC and will be making his debut in Paris, September 6th, taking on Marcin Tybura. That could be a very, very interesting fight. The other one is what the UFC themselves are describing as a do or die match. And I'm very intrigued on how this one's going to shake out as well. Modestas Bukauskas stepping in to take on the Bear Jew himself, Paul Craig, coming off of that fucking weird up kick stoppage. September 6th has got some interesting fights on that fucking Nasruddin Imavov headed card. I'm telling you right now, that could be a fun one. The following week after Paris, UFC Noche 3 from down in San Antonio, Texas. Alice Pereira will be making her official UFC debut as the youngest female fighter ever signed to the UFC roster. She has just turned 19 and will be taking on Montserrat Hendon. That one could be real fucking fun. This is one of the first not like full soup can contender series ladies that the UFC has brought in a hot fucking minute. And she's 19. This could do a whole lot of good for the lady side of the UFC, in my opinion. So we'll see how that one plays out as we get a little closer to Noche. Couple of interesting announcements here. UFC 321 has not had any fights added to it yet, but we do now have a date and location that will officially be going down October 25th from Abu Dhabi. So after all of these goddamn fight nights they have brought over there, they are finally going to give them an actual pay-per-view card in October. A couple of interesting fight rumors swirling around the end of October as well, so they could have some very interesting matchups on that card. But the one that they announced after that, after a new partnership was signed with UFC and TKO, which probably means they're bringing Power Slap and WWE over there as well, the UFC will officially be making their debut in Qatar November 22nd for a fight night event. No fights, again, added to that one yet, just created. But from what they've announced, it seems like they're trying to set up a partnership with Qatar very similar to what they have with Abu Dhabi, where they come there a couple times a year with a fight night, and then hopefully at least once a year with a pay-per-view. Obviously, they're going to start their debut with a fight night, but being as how the Middle East over there is paying big money for site fees for the UFC to bring the events over there, I'm pretty sure they're going to stack a nice card for them, but we'll see as we get a little closer. Couple of real weird ones to close out the show here. The first one, we've got official confirmation directly from the source that Peter Murray, for no reason given, is now officially out as the CEO of PFL, and stepping in to replace him will be John Martin of several other Fortune 500 fame. But the thing about John Martin stepping in to take over as CEO of PFL is the vast majority of the companies that John Martin has previously stepped in to head has been to facilitate the dismantling and sale of said company. The PFL hasn't directly addressed that, but if you're looking at it with clear and not rose-colored glasses, this appears to be that the PFL is in way over their head way overextended themselves and are about to be dismantled and sold off to the highest bidder. Again, nothing officially confirmed, but that's traditionally how it's gone when John Martin has taken over a company. Doesn't look good for PFL. We'll see how it goes, though. Kind of a weird one here. I'm not going to get political about it, but it is something that does need to be mentioned. 2 days after main eventing the boxing match with Jake Paul, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been arrested by ICE and deported from the United States. I'm not going to get into the story. Again, I shared the story over on the I'm No Joe Discord if you would like to read all the intricacies of it, but to pretend that he is, as they put it, a quote unquote severe threat to the public while he was publicly doing open workouts for the last week and a half in Las Vegas before he main evented a giant boxing event, and then pretending that now he's dangerous. A little fucked up to say the very least, but
Well,
like I said,
to be fair, he was dangerous the whole goddamn time.
right?
Got some
Yeah,
great
well,
hands.
if he was actually as dangerous as he should have been, we wouldn't have to talk about this story because he would have ended a Disney career and we'd be giggling like schoolgirls still. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, fair enough. Actually, you know what? I'm not mad just because of that. You know what? If you can't end a Disney career, get the fuck out.
There's been a lot of people saying that lately, and you're like, if you'd have done your fucking job, this probably wouldn't be an issue right now. So,
No, you probably would have got a
saying,
pat on the back and a presidential medal.
right? I'm not saying, I'm just saying. That being said, though, we got a pair of fucking weird and pretty fucking nonsensical announcements, I guess you could call them, to close out the news here. Both of them are very fucking ridiculous, but both of them definitely need a second worth talking about here. The first one, and the one that, in my opinion, is the least ridiculous of the two, if that's even worth a thing. Tyson Fury himself, the Gypsy King, has confirmed this week that he is officially coming out of retirement and has a trilogy of fights already signed against Alexander Usyk for 2026. This very, very much feels like Turkey Al-Sheikh throwing his wallet to try and make pretend fights that people want happen, but we'll see how that actually shakes out. The other one here, and the absolutely fucking most ridiculous thing that has been said, in my opinion, in the last 2 weeks since we saw you wonderful folks. The Duck himself couldn't just stay shut the fuck up. John Jones has announced that after 2 weeks of official retirement, he is back in the UFC testing pool and is looking to try and get things, quote unquote, back on track. Now, I say that, but back on track might be a little more difficult than he anticipates, because just hours after he announced that he was back in the testing pool and looking to, quote unquote, get things back on track, the Albuquerque, New Mexico Police Department announced that they have issued not only a duplicate charge tied to his initial February car accident incident, but they have now issued additional charges and will be seeking more charges against him in the future, still related to this incident. So his legal troubles are so far from over. Kind of makes you wonder if maybe that lawyer tab showed up a little heavier than he anticipated it, and now he might have to go back to stripping to make a little bit of money to pay his troubles off. I don't feel bad for him in the least bit, and I genuinely hope that this catches up to him as much as it possibly fucking can. John has made a career out of skating away from trouble, so it would make me happier than anything in the world to see him actually get held accountable for this. But since we know how this world also operates, I don't see that necessarily happening either.
I'll say it. If it waddles like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, if it flaps its wings like a duck, it's a goddamn duck. That is the biggest duck we have ever seen in all of combat sports. I'll announce my goddamn retirement from the sport so that way I don't have to fight Tom Aspinall. I'll fucking say it outright. let Tom Aspinall become the permanent champ, and I'm pretty sure they have a fight already for him. They just haven't announced it from everything I'm reading into. But then as soon as he gets a fight announced for that belt, oh, well, I should unretire at this point, and then bam. It just so happens that I caught charges. Guess what? You're a fucking duck. You ducked the whole goddamn time. If you think you're gonna get it back on track, getting it back on track could have happened 2 fucking years ago when you could have fought Tom then. But for the last fucking 2 years, we've been missing out on the fight we should have had for International Fight Week. Instead, we got the fuckery that we did get 2 years in a row.
Yeah. It was originally said, but now has to be amended, obviously. We are all well aware that chickens can't be goats, but I will now wholeheartedly support the campaign that ducks can't be goats either, motherfuckers. That being said, that's what I've got for news for this week. Either one of you gentlemen have anything I might have missed?
No, but I will hit on that Ben Askren thing. If you haven't watched this video, do yourself a favor, go watch it, because anybody who's seen him when he fought and won, even coming over to the UFC at the very end of his fucking career, when they finally brought him over, when he was no longer in the best person he could have been,
Right.
it's a night and day difference of what he is right now. He looks like an absolute skeleton. To be fair, though, he still has his weird, same fucked up sense of humor. You
Yes.
could tell that in the video. There's a couple points where you could tell he got a little emotional and they had to do a quick jump cut. Understandable. I mean, the man just fucking read his whole life through his fucking wife's diary of what was going on. So,
Yeah, which is fucking crazy.
yeah, I mean, you think, go watch the video, you'll understand. Just hell, you can even just look at the goddamn screenshot.
Yeah,
But
just the thumbnail for that video alone shows you everything you need to know. But hearing him talk about it,
yeah, that's it's kind of weird to think about that. Hmm. So, only died 4 times. You know, unfortunately, when he said that, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed. But that's because there's a book that I've been listening to on Audible where the guy's like, I've died 6 times. 6 times a lot? Guess that's dependent on who you are. And I immediately fucking cracked up because of the way it was in the book. The things clicked in my head. So yeah, I feel kind of like an asshole, but at the same time, he'd get it. He'd get it.
I
You know,
agree.
you don't have to feel like an asshole, man. And like you mentioned, that's Ben's fucking humor, and that's kind of the thing. He went through one of the worst things of his life. You got to fucking look at the bright side of it. That's the best way to do it. I'm glad as hell that the good vibes and prayers worked out for the most part, and things are looking up for him. Even if he doesn't look that great right now, dude was able to fucking talk, and he's still kicking. So
Yeah.
glad to fucking see. Even if he had, you know, the end of the career that he had, and he'll be remembered for what he was. The dude was a hell of a fighter, a hell of a fucking wrestler, and clearly, you know, surviving this fucking situation.
Yeah. No,
Glad to see it, man.
absolutely. Absolutely glad to see it for damn sure. Excuse me. So, that being said, since this is our 7 year anniversary episode, we're doing all kinds of crazy shit right now. We figured tonight would be as good of a night as ever to bring our favorite casual in to give him a casual corner for a fight night. So, how you doing over there, Flintlock?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We are here. So, obviously, next week we will have a version of the pit. We will have the pregame show where Flitlock and I will break down all of the fun pay per view stuff right before the pay per view. But that being said, we do have a very interesting card going down in Nashville this weekend as well. So I wanted to get our casuals take on our co-main and main event for this weekend. So you ready over there, Flintlock?
Yep.
All right. So in the co-main event this weekend, we've got a very important and a very interesting matchup here. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim. How do you think that one's going to shake out?
I automatically want to say Wonder Boy takes it, but it could go either way.
Very true. Very true. So that'll bring us over to our main then. So the main event is the big fun one that everybody's looking forward to. Talazin Tejera versus Derek Lewis. How do you think that one plays out?
I got Lewis. I got to. I got to. Any man that can say his balls are hot on live TV and get away with it, yeah,
Yep.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Derek
I
Lewis all the
absolutely,
way.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, sir. We will call that our casual corner for the evening. Always appreciate your input, sir.
You guys have a good one.
You as well. Thank you very much. So that'll bring us to the point in the show where if you've been watching combat sports as long as some of us have been watching combat sports, you start to learn what you like and when it comes on and how you go about watching it. And eventually you start to develop a set of blinders and you start to lose that punchy kicky forest for the trees, if you will. Luckily for us here on the show, we've got ourselves a vigilant young person out there, ever so diligently and ever so delicately fingering the pulse of the MMA world to help keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they are names in a segment that we call Slows, Cans, and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. So it's pretty easy this week. They're in Nashville. It's better than an Apex card. Hopefully some real good vibes. Midwest crowd's going to be fun, but other than a handful of fights, the card is shit. So we'll start with the trash, where most of it's trash. There's not a lot I can polish up this week. Um, Austin Lane, man. Austin Lane and George Tokos. I gotta throw both of those dudes in the garbage. I think both of them are getting knocked out this weekend, and they're getting knocked out by just okay fighters in general. Like Vitor Petrino moving up to heavyweight because he's lazy and kind of sucks at fighting. So, even if he's young, he just wants to take it easy. He's got some power in his hands. Maybe it translates a little bit. Tokos is just on the shit side of things. His opponent, though, I'm going to throw on the contender side this week. Junior Tafa, the younger Tafa brother. He's 28. He's fucking won all 6 wins by knockout. So he's got the power in his hands. And he looks like he's in incredible shape going into this fight. Dropping down to light heavyweight from heavyweight, I feel like it's a good move for him because he's about half the size of his brother. Even if he was, packing on some weight, being out of shape, I think this is a good move for him. It looks great. We'll see how he does here in his move. I think he's got a chance still, being young, to bounce back. We'll see if light heavyweight's the thing that helps him do that. The other shit you got to throw in the trash. Max Griffin, 39-year-old that's 8-9 in the UFC. Dude's the definition of back and forth throughout his career. Chris Curtis is kind of back and forth in his career too, and he's probably going to make Chris Curtis look like a god this weekend, in all honesty, in my opinion. I would throw Chris in the trash too at this point. He's fucking like 37, moving down to welterweight. I'm going to be surprised if he even makes weight. The dude is so jacked, so fucking huge. It's impressive that he's even attempting it, but we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of old, tough fighters on this card that just need to retire. One of them is going to retire. She said it. Lauren Murphy, man. She, going into this week, said she's going to retire. This will be her last fight. And good on her because she's 41. She's been in a lot of wars and probably didn't need to take this last fight. It'd be fun as hell to see her go out there and get a nice win, have one last good moment. She's just got a little bit of a tough matchup. The chick she's going against, I think, has got some potential to be a contender. So you also got Derek Lewis and Calvin Cater and Wonderboy. I mean, these are all fighters that we love. It's tough to say, but in all honesty, all of them probably should have already hung it up. Derek Lewis still has the knockout power, and it's easy for heavyweights to stick around for a little bit, but be honest, for the past few years, Derek hasn't done much but knock out the up and coming cans, trying to work their way in the top 15. This kid he's fighting this weekend is a little more than a can. That's the thing that worries me here. Just taking unnecessary damage. Same with Calvin. You're fighting a kid that's on a 5-fight, 6-fight knockout streak, not just win streak with Steve Garcia. All the wars that Calvin's been in, being 37, all the fucking damage, even though he's never been knocked out. We just saw what happened to Max last year, and eventually it catches up to you. I don't want to see that happen to Calvin here this weekend, but a high chance we're gonna. And then Wonder Boy, it's just a wasted opportunity. Dude is doing something cool as hell. 42 years old. He's still going out there trying to fucking put on some shows for us. And the UFC, just like they did with Jose Aldo and they do with everybody, I get it. Like, there's no giving people easy fights. And as they get on in age, and this is the sport, it swallows them up. But why keep giving him fucking wrestling? Why couldn't you just give him Tim Means, for fuck's sake, or some shit like that? Let's just be honest. Another veteran that's going to at least stand and try to fight with him and give us a fun moment. That's all he should be doing at this point. We know he's still technically ranked, but there's no title run in Wonder Boy anymore. I feel like we can all admit that, no matter how much we love him. And if they're going to keep doing the same shit that they did with Jose Aldo, I don't want to see him keep doing this, because we know what's going to happen this weekend. Gabriel Bonfim is a decent fighter. I don't think the kid deserved to be getting a shot in the rankings already, even though I've been talking about him in a positive light compared to you guys. I know you guys have not liked the Bonfim brothers and what they've shown us so far. This is definitely a step up. Didn't need to be given. And Wonder Boy is just going to get taken down and submitted, and it's going to be a shitty moment. So that's the trash we got. Like I said, Cam Tenders, Junior Taffa. And then I'll throw Nate the fucking Train in there. Like, he's not going to go on any title run either, any different than Wonder Boy. He's on there in the years, but the dude is the absolute killer be killed definition. He goes out there. He's also definition of a fucking dog. I'm sticking on the train. I've been on the train with you boys ever since I've been a part of the pod, and keep fucking chugging along, man. I think he is going to look pretty goddamn good against a young kid that's got some good striking. I mean, Morgan Sharir, the kid has some talent. He's just not extremely well rounded. He's kind of a cocky little shit. I think Nate the Train, especially being in his hometown, dude, he's coming off of having a kid, right? He just had himself another kid, and he got some extra dad power. He looks ripped too. I saw those fucking media day photos. He's in fucking shape. He's in the hometown. He's gonna do some fun shit. So I gotta put him on the contender side of things. He ain't no fucking can. There can't be no contender. He's gonna give us a fun ass fucking fight. True contenders to look forward to. Both of the young ladies this weekend, Eduarda Mora and Fatima Klein. Keep your eye out on them. In the future, they can definitely be true contenders. They've got a little ways to go, but I do like what I've seen from them so far. Keep my eye out. Steve Garcia, he goes out there and does what nobody's done before and lays out Calvin Cater. That puts him in a damn good spot. He beats Calvin Cater, he's in the rankings. So, I mean, he's at that spot. You also think about it, fucking handful of fights in a row, winning by knockout in every one of them. If he can keep that going against a dude that's never been knocked out, he really puts him in a hell of a fucking spot in that featherweight division. Similar to what we got Gian Silva going on right now. So it'd be good for him. Okay. Heavyweight's been so shit. This is how I'm gonna put this. I don't think Walter Walker is the contender. Like, if I was gonna pick one of these two heavyweights, Kennedy is the one that I think's got the better chance. I mean, he's on a knockout winning streak right here. He's won his last couple by knockout. Heavyweight is so shit though. He hasn't fought anybody great yet. He's not fighting anybody great here. Walter Walker, He's been getting himself some heel hooks, but I don't think he's much better than his brother worth a damn. I just want to see some good heavyweight fights this weekend. We get two of them, and I want to see some finishes. And I want to see what heavyweight's supposed to be. I think Kennedy and Sheku might give us that. But Taliesin Teixeira is the true one. 25 fucking years old, kid's undefeated. 7 of the 8 wins come by knockout. He's finished every one of them. This is a ridiculous push. This is his second fucking fight in the UFC. He's getting a main event against Derek Lewis. But with that opportunity given, especially if he does what he did to Justin Tafa, oh man, like he goes out there, elbows Derek's face in, beats the hell out of him, gets a quick finish. Like I said, heavyweight shit. The kid might be fighting Tom Aspinall next year. To be honest, you got to put him in the contender spot. I'd like to hear what you boys got to say. You probably agree with me with a couple of young ones, but like I said, you got to be honest here. I like to try to be the positive one and put the good spin on things. But this weekend, on paper, is looking like shit. Luckily, this year, a lot of those cards have turned out to be decent and better than most of the pay-per-views. So we can only hope for that. Like I said, we got a fucking crowd. We're going to get good vibes from that crowd. So hopefully that juices shit up. We got Nate the Train. We got Derek Lewis. Balls is hot, baby. We got some decent moments. Let's hope it rides it.
All right. I'm going to start out with holy fuck, there is a lot of trash and filler on this card. But to be fair, this is a hangover card. Yes, we got a week off without a hangover card, but it's still a hangover card because you got to figure the last card we got was a decent, I will not say a good fucking pay-per-view card, but it was decent. So, yeah, we've got a bit of a fucking... There's definitely some trash on here. The opening fight, the women's strawweight, Fatima Klein, Melissa Martinez, straight to the fucking trash. Throw that son of a bitch clean away. There's nothing exciting about that to me at all. Mitch Ramirez, Mike Davis, don't give two shits. Mike Davis, yes, he's a young up-and-comer, and he's looked all right so far. I won't say good, but all right. Walter Walker, I've not been a fan of his since he's been in the UFC. To be honest, yes, he's getting submission finishes, but he's a boring ass fighter to watch. It's not exciting. Thank God we are finally getting the retirement fight of Lauren Murphy. That's long overdue. Long overdue. Former title challenger or not, don't care. Eduardo Murphy, please take that fucking out to pasture, put a bullet in it, call it a fucking day. And then you have Jake fucking Matthews on this card. Jake Matthews cannot seem to get right. The fucking Celtic kid at one point looked like he had something for the UFC. That one point was long and gone, done and over with. He goes directly into the trash here. Chidi and Jaquani, kind of in the same aspect. He's not showing much. That fucking premiere prelim with Max Griffin and Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis is the epitome of middle management. He will never be the top dog. He will always fall somewhere in the middle. Max Griffin is the dude that you want to fire, but you can't come up with a good fucking reason to where you don't get some sort of fucking complaint or a lawsuit on your hands. If that doesn't explain that fight, I don't know what else does. Junior Tafa is, look, I'll say it. I like the Tafa brothers. However, the caveat to that statement is both of them have not shown up in quite some fucking time. Yes, they cover down for one another, but neither one of them have gotten their shit together in quite some time. Kind of sad to see. Junior Tafa gets a can tender because I still think they have some potential, but they're really squandering it lately. And Tuco. Tuco is a bad name for a guy from England. Tuco sounds like a Mexican fucking gangster. Who the fuck names their kid that in England? Somebody slap his parents for him, and move on with life. Again, that fight as a whole kind of garbage.
You nailed that on the head, actually, if you ever watched Breaking Bad. That was one of the bad
Yeah, that's
guys the
right.
first couple seasons. Tuco.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you nailed that shit right on the head with the Mexican gangster there, brother.
Oh, the next fight on here is the worst of all of the trash on the fucking card. Victor Petrino and Austin Lane. Austin Lane is an absolute garbage dumpster fire. Stop giving him chances. To be honest, Victor Petrino in my eyes is still nothing special. He hasn't shown anything that says, oh my God, he's the next fucking heavyweight that's going to do something. He's just not. Then I will say, Nate Landwehr. I love Nate the Train just as much as everybody else on this panel. However, he's at the end of the fucking line. He's coming up on that last station. I will give him for this weekend and this weekend only. He is a contender this weekend. Does he show up as the Nate the Train we love and know and he's gonna take a few shots to give a few just to get a win? Or is he just gonna get stomped out by an overconfident Morgan Charrier? Charrier. I don't know. I don't speak French. I don't care enough about that dude to even learn how to say his fucking name. Because to be honest, I think he's just a flash in the pan. He isn't going to last all that long, in my opinion. Then we get into what I'm going to call the changing of the guard fights. From featherweight to welterweight to heavyweight. This is the UFC's attempt at trying to get the changing of the guards. Calvin Kattar sitting at the bottom of the fucking featherweight fucking division as far as rankings are concerned. Steve Garcia has been looking pretty fucking good lately. I will give him that. And to be honest, I think he's earned a shot at the number 14 ranked featherweight. Calvin Kattar better show the fuck up, because if he doesn't, he's getting shown the fuck out. Same goes for Wonder Boy here. Long in the tooth. Although, this is a... God, I fucking hate the UFC for this. Gabriel Bonfim does not, I repeat, does not deserve a shot at Wonder Boy, even though Wonder Boy, I think, is sitting, what is he, 10, 12, 13, somewhere in there, 11. Okay, either way, there's no reason Gabriel Bonfim deserves that shot. He's not that good. Neither is his fucking brother, for that matter. Don't get me wrong, it's always cool when you have siblings that make it into the same fucking high-tier organization. Yeah, they earned their way here. Congratulations to them, but neither one of them are top dogs, and nor will they ever be, in my opinion. To be honest, I hope Steven can keep it on the feet and just cleans his fucking clock and says, find somebody else to change the guard, because this dude ain't worth the time of fucking day. And the main event. This is the biggest walrus slap fight we are going to see in quite some time. Either Derek Lewis gets the finish inside of 2 rounds, or Taliesin Teixeira gets the finish inside of 2 rounds. If that does not happen, tune the fuck out, because it is going to be one long, boring ass fight. Guaranteed. That fight as a whole, as the main event, can. Not because of who's in it, but just because of the outlook of what happens if it goes past 2 rounds. If it goes past 2 rounds, it's going to be the worst fight of the fucking year. Mark my words. So yeah, there's some contenders on here. There's a whole lot of trash and a whole lot of should have retired a long time ago. That's what I got on that.
Yeah, it's. I will say this. For the most part, at least this year so far, every time the UFC has gotten out of the apex, they have done fairly well at doing that thing that the UFC does. And when they're on the road, generally speaking, the UFC will load the card wherever they end up with people who have some tie to the local area. We got pretty slim on Kansas City with just the 4 guys. 2 of them were last minute and they made them fucking fight each other. We didn't have it much better earlier this year, but now we just have Nate the Train. Like, nobody else is from Nashville. Nobody else is from the area. Lauren Murphy lived in Tennessee for a while, I believe. But this is basically a Nashville card with Nate the Train to carry all the fucking weight. Now, granted, he can. He's the fucking train. Choo choo, bitch. But it's pretty weak sauce serving from the UFC, in my opinion, overall. Especially considering how they've been fairly decent throughout this year. That being said, this is a double hangover card because the last fight we just had was a pay-per-view and the fight we've got next weekend is a pay-per-view. So we're caught in hangover hell with this particular one here. And some of the matchups they gave us really kind of speak to that. I agree 100% with what TJ said earlier. Beast Boy has been fairly productive so far in his UFC career. Mitch Ramirez is like a bad fucking joke at this point. I don't understand why he's still around, let alone on a card. Like, well, I take that back. I understand why he's on a hangover card like this, but I don't understand why he's getting a fight like Mike Davis, because Mike Davis beating the shit out of him like he's probably going to do isn't really going to do much for Mike Davis. We might get to see Mike's, advancement as far as skills go, but it's not going to do much for him career wise. Same thing with Fatima Klein and Melissa Martinez. Fatima Klein is poised on paper as of right now to come in and just walk right fucking through Melissa Martinez. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. But this is a perfect fucking fight that they could have put on Noche, which we know that they need fights for still. But, UFC is going to fucking UFC. I agree with what Chris said earlier. I don't see why Kennedy is sticking around at heavyweight other than being lazy and not wanting to actually cut and do the work to stay at light heavyweight, where I feel he genuinely has a much better shot. The problem is the UFC is going to give him guys like Walter fucking Walker if he stays at heavyweight. And Walter Walker is the definition of a flash in the fucking pan who got here off of his name. Nothing he has done has been even close to remotely fucking spectacular or exciting. His heel hook was fucking laughable. Like, Walter Walker is prime LFA champion material. UFC, he's a waste of fucking roster space, in my opinion. Kennedy playing around at fucking heavyweight feels very much like when Kevin Holland would play around at middleweight. Yeah, we might get an interesting match once in a while, but realistically, we all know that if he puts the fucking work in, holds himself accountable, puts the dedication to the fucking craft in, and goes back to 205, he could genuinely be a legitimate fucking problem. But he doesn't want to do that. That's why we see Kevin Holland back at 170, and he'll be fucking going down next weekend because he's putting the work in and he's taking the craft seriously. Kennedy doesn't seem to be taking that fucking pathway. So I have a feeling this is going to be a very horrible fucking walrus slap fight. Lauren Murphy. I say it all the fucking time, and I will continue to say it until I fucking die. Credit where credit is due, regardless of how you feel about a person. Lauren Murphy might not be the most fucking OnlyFans friendly gal in the UFC. She might not have the greatest fucking win record in the UFC. But if you look at her fucking resume and you go back and watch any of her goddamn fights, that girl is a fucking dog. She has been in the fucking trenches. She has been there, done that, seen the fucking roster come and go. And she is just now deciding that she's going to hang him up. Obviously, they weren't going to give her an easy fucking matchup, but I honestly don't give a shit because at the end of the fucking day, Lauren Murphy still came out there, represented her goddamn self, and gave her fucking best against some of the best, period. End of sentence. She went out there and gave every fucking bit of what she had against some of what we have seen to be the best to ever fucking do it and never once fucking back down. So regardless of how this fight comes out, I think Lauren Murphy deserves more flowers than the UFC is going to fucking give her. And she might not have been my favorite fighter, but god damn it, she's a tough fucking broad who came and did what she was fucking supposed to. So she'll get her fucking flowers from me if nobody else. The fight might not be the most exciting, but either way, it's an iceberg on a fucking cap that deserves a little more fucking respect than I feel that she's given. That being said, I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but in the last couple of weeks, Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland stormed a fucking cage after a fight where one of their teammates lost. Sean Strickland punched a fucking guy. Chris Curtis grabbed the dude by his fucking throat. It's all on camera. It's everywhere on the fucking internet. The extra stupid fucking part about this situation was the guy that Sean punched and Chris grabbed is a fucking active duty police officer. Now, luckily for these two dipshits, the officer has said he thought it was fucking hilarious and a little bit pathetic, and no, he is absolutely not going to press charges, which he would be well within his rights to fucking do. But the thing that pisses me off about it even more is that the UFC has said zero about it. They have done nothing about it. This just happened, and now Chris Curtis is still getting a fucking fight. Had this been any other pair of high-level fucking names in the UFC, this would be where we actually might get to see some fucking punishment or some accountability. But Strickland's fallen off. Curtis is far beyond a fucking journeyman at this point, so the UFC just doesn't care. I fucking care. This fucking matters. You can't be an ex-fucking champion in the UFC, still on the roster, still an active goddamn fighter, and then go to another organization, climb in the cage because your buddy got beat, and punch another fucking fighter. That's assault, aside from the fact that it should be an immediate violation of the UFC's quote-unquote fighter morality clause that they use when it's fucking convenient for them. This would be that fucking morality clause. It isn't. We're still going to see Chris Curtis get in there and put on a boring 15 fucking minutes against Max Griffin. But this is where the UFC should show that they still have some testicular goddamn fortitude and do something when their fighters fuck around. Let them find out. They're not gonna, but they should. This fight as a whole can go fuck itself. I got nothing against Max Griffin, but this fight can go fuck itself. The main card is not great, but there's a lot of matchups on this main card that could be very interesting, in my opinion here. Nate, the goddamn Train. Chew fucking chew. I will wave that flag till that man fucking retires. I don't give a shit. That man is allergic to boring fights. He breaks out fucking punches. He ain't afraid to take 3 to give 1. That man is the definition of an exciting goddamn fighter. And I don't care if they put him against a brick fucking wall. I'll watch it. I'll wave that goddamn flag. Nate Landwehr might be the most exciting thing on this whole fucking main card, in my opinion. I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not joking. That being said, I think TJ nailed it on the fucking head when it comes to closing this fucking card out. I think Cater versus Garcia, I think Wonder Boy versus Bonfim, and I think Black Beast versus Teixeira are all very much the UFC trying to put on a quote-unquote subtle changing of the guard scenario here. The thing that adds a little more interest and a little more curiosity to me to it, not only are we looking at some changing of the guard matchups here, we are looking at the either continuation and confirmation of, or the potential breaking of the Brazilian curse in 2025. Not one Brazilian has been able to win a single fucking main event in 2025. Talison Teixeira is the next anchor up on that fucking chain. Is he going to be able to stop the fucking go? Or is he going to be another victim to the Black Beast? I think TJ said it perfectly. This has got 2 rounds of excitement, and then it turns into what the fuck are we really doing here? But if something does happen in those first 2 fucking rounds, this is absolutely a situation where either Derek Lewis puts himself back into the conversation of being a serious fighter, or Derek Lewis is never fighting anyone ranked above 15 again, and Talison Teixeira is going to skyrocket into the top 10 of the heavyweight division, and now we start having to have weird fucking conversations again about heavyweight. But either way, the card overall, not the greatest, but far from the worst we have seen even just this year. There's some interesting ones overall, in my opinion.
That was a good way to put it. This isn't the worst one we've had. Like I said earlier, hopefully surprises us a bit. Turns out pretty good. But you boys helped me the best that you could. It's pretty trash. Appreciate how you tried to polish it up.
Much appreciated, sir. So, that being said, that'll bring us to the only segment of the show that actually requires its own individual disclaimer. So, if you will, me. Tapology.com in no way, shape, or form supports, sponsors, or endorses the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, they do allow you to go onto their site, make a free account, and make fantasy style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups, so we made one. We call it I'm No Bookie, all one word, or group 965, however you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Go make yourself an account, join the group, let us know who the hell you are so we can hold your picks accountable with our picks in a segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
I think you had to put the fucking glasses on. My eyes were bothering me. So let's get into this here. Right off the get-go, I'll say it like I said last week. Might have had an off week the previous week, but I'll get my shit back together. And boy, did I ever last week, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me, on the UFC 317 Topuria Oliveira card. 9 of 11 correct, 605 points in the top spot in the group. I give myself an attaboy and I move on from the show because I don't really give a shit at that point. However, all of that, while that was going on and I was cheering myself on during that card, I failed to look at the rest of the fucking rankings there until the card was all over. Had I known what I know now, there would have been some really bad messages, some things that could have rocked friendships possibly, and some questioning of sanity when it comes to picks. Meter absolutely shit the bed, fell in it, tried to wipe it up with his balls and got it all over his dick instead. And then, ew, it's gross. I'm going to stomp on it some. It just didn't work. That poor thing probably looks like it got fucking hit with a meat mallet and then ran through a grinder, reformed, and tried to be stuffed back into his pants. Because at this point, when you only have 5 of 11, you're below the 500 mark, you really shit the bed this time. Everybody else, somewhere in the middle. And I say that very nicely because, well, the next closest in points to me was almost, it was about 120 behind. So, I mean, I definitely put a gap on the rest of the field this week, which, not gonna lie, felt great. But overall, to be fair, everybody in the group, -1, was over the 500 mark. So, as a whole, we did exceed the 500 mark, which, perfect. So with all that being said, let's check into where we are in the Summer Fun Grand Prix that we've got going on currently. Rocketed myself back to the top spot there, sitting at 2,510 points, 38 of 58 correct. It's pretty bad that I've dropped 20 fights in what? Shit. What are we, 5 events in? That's pretty goddamn bad. Like, I should not be leading the pack. Oh, Bin Dog the Booty Hog, sitting at the same 38 of 58 so far correct. However, caveat to that situation, he's only at 2320, almost 200 behind. And because we know there has been some cheating as of late between the Brotherhood, Slowbake's sitting in the third spot with only 10 points off. Or excuse me, 90 points off, because he had to shit the bed on purpose the previous week, just so that way it didn't look like they were cheating off of each other. Way to take one for the team. Don really shit the bed this last week, because he is only at 36 of 38. And as you guys will remember, he had us all beat by quite a few picks for a while. and he just had a rough week sitting at 2,200. But because Meter decided to run his dick through a meat grinder last week and just make some terrible picks, sitting in that bottom spot, 350 off the lead. Now, but we still have time. There are 3 events. Those numbers can change over the next 3 events. And chances are, because I did well this last outing, I will probably shit the bed this week because there are some of these fighters that I just want to pick against because I highly dislike them. And that's what's going to end up happening. Chances are it'll probably fuck me. So, come back next week and find out. In the meantime, because you guys like free shit, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to us, watching us, or listening to the replay on your podcast platform of choice a week late, come over to Tapology, create a free account. It's absolutely free. Not a goddamn dime. Also, no microtransactions for those of you who are worried about that kind of thing. Nothing. You don't have to put in a card, anything. It's free to join the group as well. Guess what? We don't charge anything. I'm no bookie. Group 965. However you want to look it up. Come find us, join the group. Let us know who you are. We'll include you, tell you when you do well, also tell you when you shit the bed and should have left your beef curtains at home. Oh, with all that being said, let's move into this week's for fight odds. I think this week we are going to go back to Caesars because I've been liking the Caesars stuff a little bit better lately. So this weekend is gonna be July 12th's card, the fucking Lewis Teixeira card. Ugh, God, that hurts saying that. Now to be fair, because of the way that this is played out and how we were talking about the possibility of changing the guard, the fucking UFC put some crazy fights together that should not be happening, and the odds prove it because there are some really wide odds on this card. So I'm gonna hit them from fucking top to bottom here. There are not many coin flips. I'll tell you that much. We're gonna start here with the Kenny Njoku and Walter Walker. Walker's is coming in as a plus 200, and Njoku coming in as a minus 240 favorite. Not surprising, right? The premier prelim fight and Chris Curtis and Max Griffin. Got Chris Curtis coming fresh off of his cage storming incident at a minus 320 favorite. They know he's lubed up and ready to go, apparently. And Max Griffin coming in as a plus 250 underdog. Not surprising since he's already had cage time prior to the fight. So, it makes sense. It adds up. Another one of the just fairly wide odds, I won't say fairly wide odds, but not quite coin flips. Nate the Train and Morgan, the Frenchman. I don't care to learn his last name. They've got Morgan coming in as a minus 240 favorite, and Nate the Train coming in as a plus 200 underdog.
Bruh.
Not really surprised at that one, to be quite honest. I would have thought it would have been a little closer to a coin flip, but then again, we all know Nate the Train is either you live by the shield, die by the shield, so you can understand why they kind of widen those odds a bit there. Now, to go on to the widest of the odds on the card, there's 4 of them that I'm going to cover here. We're going to start with the the plus 430 minus 600. And that's the Lauren Murphy, or excuse me, not Lauren Murphy, Jesus Christ. And Eduardo Mora. Mora coming in as a minus 600 favorite over Murphy as a plus 430 underdog. It adds up. She's long in the tooth. She hasn't been anywhere near the fighter she was. Shit. She's been fighting in the UFC since 2014 or 15. Over a decade. So, I mean, she's had a hell of a fucking run. Good for her. Next one that's slightly around that same odds area is going to be Austin Lane and Victor Petrino. Petrino, thank God, is the favorite in this. I'm glad the odds makers see it that way at a minus 650 favorite, where Austin Lane is a plus 460 underdog. To be honest, I think the odds should be a lot wider than that because Austin Lane is a piece of garbage. Not worth the damn. Oh, we're going to hop back over here and go to Mike Davis and Mitch Ramirez. Mike Davis coming in as a minus 900 favorite over a plus 600 in Mitch Ramirez. The last minute kid is what I'm going to call him. Because it seems like every time they need a last minute opponent for somebody, he's been the guy that is the sacrificial lamb to the altar. Just the way it works out. Sorry about your luck. Now, not to be outdone, the widest odds on the card belong to the opening fight on the card, Fatima Klein and Melissa Martinez. Got Fatima coming in as a minus 1,200 favorite over a plus 750 in Melissa Martinez. That's a hell of a wide odds gap there for some ladies that are fairly young in their career, which is also probably part of the reason they didn't put that on Noche, because they want Mexican winners on, the Noche cards. That kind of adds up for me. Now, as per usual, we'll cover the main and the co-main. The co-main, Stephen Wonderboy and Gabriel Bonfim. God, this hurts to say this. Got Bonfim coming in as a minus 400 favorite over a plus 310 in Stephen Thompson. I get it. It makes sense. Stephen Thompson's old. He's not known as a wrestler. He is obviously a stand-up striker. So the odds kind of
Emotional damage.
The old veteran who only needs to connect him once. Just there. Now, on the main event, this is why I said all this shit earlier. Derek Lewis, Taliesin Teixeira. Teixeira coming in as a minus 260 favorite over a plus 210 underdog in Derek Lewis. I said they're trying to make a changing of the guard situation in those last three fights. I wasn't lying. And I'll even go as far as to say, when you look at the People's Co-main event in Calvin Kattar and Steve Garcia, they have it basically as a coin flip. They have Calvin Kattar as a plus 115 underdog and Steve Garcia as a minus 135. That's the UFC trying to change out the guard, which I get. When you're one of those younger fighters, you can't get there with changing out the guard at some point. It's just how that works. It's just sad to see that this is the way they're doing it. That makes sense. But again, all those odds are from Caesars this week. So just know that depending on where you're looking, the odds may vary from area to area. They may be more or less. And if you decide to bet responsibly. But no, there's some fights on here there's some odds on here that could make you some money by betting the underdog, because there's some strong underdogs on here that have a good chance of winning. Nate Landwehr and fucking, oh, I don't know, fuck Derek Lewis, because all he's got to do is connect once. I mean, Stephen Thompson's crafty. I would even go as far as to say Lauren Murphy, depending on if she shows up knowing this is her last fight and wants to show out. But yeah, they're there. You bet responsibly. I'm not telling you to bet, nor am I telling you not to bet. But you can also use this information to make your picks on Tapology with the free account that you've just made to come over and join us at I Know Bookie Group 965. It's absolutely fucking free. It doesn't require you to bet. And we also give you the odds for free, so it helps you with your picks. What can I say except you're welcome?
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. That being said, that is what we have got for this particular episode. So first and foremost, if this is your first episode joining us, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy what we get up to around here, please make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on, whether you're picking this up on YouTube or catching the all audio version over there on Anchor. Either way, we appreciate it just the same. The other side of that coin, though, if you don't enjoy what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Give it a thumbs down and go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, if you do like what we get up to around here and you want to help us do what we do around here, best way to do that is patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, as much as you are comfortable giving, you help us do what we do around here. And in exchange for that support, first and foremost, we put your name on the end of every broadcast on this channel so that everyone know you are one of our glorious patrons and help us keep all this shit show running. On top of that, though, for helping us do what we do, we give you unrestricted and unfettered access to the behind the scenes, unaired and unairable content. The things that legitimately got us kicked off of OnlyFans as a podcast are there for all of our supporters to enjoy. More content there to come as well in the next coming weeks. But that being said, when we wrap things up around here Thursday night, that is not the end of the fun, because tomorrow and pretty much every Friday, this gentleman, he's down there this time. This gentleman over here and his other half drop their podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over on Spreaker.com. Links to their podcast, their social media, and their very own channel on the I'm No Joe Discord, all down in the description, whether you're watching or listening to this. Go click on those links and tell them how awesome they're doing.
Appreciate you, brother. If you fucking missed it last night, he kicks us off for the back half of the week. Best day of the week, hump day. The brother Golf T Vapes has his own show, The Foggy Fairway, on his YouTube channel. You got to check it out. Golf T Vapes on YouTube. If you're into the vapes, you want to learn some new recipes or some fun new mixes, got to pop on in there. Just show the brother some love, hang out, have a good time. Everything should be down in the description for him as well.
Thank you, sir. As an FYI, I may or may not have a show next week, depending on how much overtime I do or do not work. But, no. Because there is a long time between this week, Thursday, and next week, Thursday. Yes. Go check out Slow Bake and Contemplate. However, they're one episode a weekers. From what I hear, the meter does many things. In fact, he's dropping things all the time. So if you go down below and you click on the link trees, either the meter does many things or linktree/I'm No Joe, that will take you to each of the everythings that the meter does do and allow you to fill that time gap from Thursday to Thursday. Go enjoy it. Little birdie tells me there's more coming. Way more coming.
Thank you very much, sir. That being said, that is what we have got for this particular episode. Thank you again to everyone who tuned in. If you like what we get up to, make sure you get your notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the shenaniganry around here. But until next time, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So until next time, folks, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Happy 710.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh.